Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it is the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Day, which means we've only got 2 games on this slate tonight, Nate. Thank you to Nate yesterday for crushing those player props 4-0 on the day after I took a little mental health break, went away for a bit. But that makes us 7-1 in our player props over the last 2 nights that we have delivered those to you. Going to go ahead and give you those in a separate video today. So make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page. This one here, we're talking about that Knicks game taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Nate's got his great article up on playpicks.com as well with some best bets and player props in there for you. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight's little slate. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, as you said, only 2 games right now. The Wolves -3, -3.5 maybe, depending where you find it at Madison Square Garden. That total is at 214. I think it's going to drop a little bit. I see 213 some places, given how slow the Knicks have been playing lately. And then the other game, the total just continues to rise. Pistons at Warriors start at 206, right? And now it's 218.5. That spread isn't budging, though. +15 for Detroit on the road as Golden State finally returns home for their homestand. We'll break that one down for you, and we will bring you more player props on this short slate. Looking at the Wolves and Knicks here, I think this is clearly the more intriguing game of the slate. Obviously, the spread indicates that, but I love the narratives here where you have Tom Thibodeau going up against a lot of guys that he coached and coached hard, as he always does, for a few years in Minnesota. This is the 3rd meeting between Tibbs and his old teammates, his old players and the Wolves. The big 3 for Minnesota missed the previous meeting, though, which was a 96-88 clunker in Minnesota. Knicks pulled it out against a team without Towns, Russell, and Edwards. That makes it under in 6 straight meetings with these teams, 4 straight that have averaged 195.3 points per game. With the Knicks playing at this insanely slow pace lately, just 90.8 possessions per 100. That's obviously dead last in the league. They're dead last on the season, but for perspective, their usual pace is 95. So it's even slower. They're actually shooting a very high clip from downtown, which would think you get some overs, but they're still only averaging 101 points per game in that span, giving up the fewest rebounds, continue to give up very few paint points. So it's kind of going to come down to who hits from deep in this game. I favor Minnesota because they actually scored the 3rd highest percentage of points off threes on the road. They're shooting nearly 38% from deep in their last 3. And they're 13-8 against the spread on the road this year. They score nearly 10 more points per game on the road. Initially, yeah, you'd think like Minnesota on the road, we're going over, especially if it's low. They have the number 1 offensive rating, scoring 121 points per game. They're 3rd in pace over their last 7. But I just can't really trust that the Knicks will acquiesce to anyone's style right now. The one thing that you could convince you to look at, kind of parlaying that over, the Knicks have gone over in 4 of their last 6 when underdogs, but it's not like we're talking huge totals here. It's like 113 with the Celtics due to that crazy comeback, or dropping 117 on a Hawks team that gives up 128. So, I mean, the long story short is I think I favor the Wolves here. I would look at maybe a way of teasing it if you want to take the under, get it higher, or maybe seeing if you can exploit it, because this might close around 208, 209, the way we've seen with these low-scoring Eastern Conference teams. The same thing happened with the Celtics on Friday. Closed all the way down at 207, and then a garbage time layup from Andre Drummond got us there. Always a nice sweat when you can get those really low totals and just hope for it to go over a little bit. But I think Minnesota is one of the top 8 teams in the West, as their record indicates. They're playing really well right now. They're going to be a little salty after losing that last matchup with the Wolves, and they're going to try to get some revenge here against Tibbs. I think they will pull out the win on the road, and that just 3-point spread. I like the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the Wolves too. I wish I didn't, because I kind of, when I first saw that this was the game tonight, I wanted to jump on some of that recent Knicks success. I mean, even in their recent victories, I mean, they've got some wins against some pretty good teams. The Mavs was a really nice win for them after they got Luka back. They've taken on the Hawks, who undecided how they're doing. That home and home against the Celtics. I mean, they've been playing some decent competition as of late, but not to the point where I feel comfortable picking them against the Wolves tonight, who I also think have been playing really well. A lot of what both of these teams do on offense, in terms of 3-point shooting, that's a lot of where they're both at, especially in their last 10. They're both in the top 5 in terms of percentage points off 3-point. And I just kind of like Minnesota's defense more than I like the Knicks defense right now. That pace is one thing, but that doesn't mean that their defensive efficiency has been as, where you would think it would be for a Tibbs team all season, and especially even as of late in their recent, decent success. So the points are down, obviously, in terms of the Knicks giving up points because of the fact that they're playing at that pace. And so I do think, the efficiencies will still be there for Minnesota is what I feel. Their defense on 3-point is way better. That's the only way the Knicks are scoring right now, is by having, those guard heavy rotations. And Jay Randall still not hitting quite as well from 3, but at least is facilitating a bit more. It's still not a recipe for success against a Wolves team that I agree with you is definitely in the top 8. And I think, when they have all 3 of their big 3 on the floor, they're I believe plus 27 on the season with all 3 of those guys on the floor. When just one of them sits, I mean, Ant's the sort of odd man out. When D'Lo and Cat are in the game, they're still about almost a double digit in terms of plus net rating there and plus minus. But when you have just one of the, just 2 of them on the floor, everything drops, and just one of them on the floor, it goes all the way down. So it's pretty obvious what it means for Minnesota in terms of the difference between them being, a top 6 seed, top 8 seed in the West versus, having to play a play-in game as a 9 or 10 seed. The difference is how their guys are faring, and having all 3 of them on the floor right now feels really good. The covering of the spread itself is something that, like you said, -3 for Minnesota. I might just consider taking their money line. I do think it's going to be a pretty close game, a little bit back and forth. But I think at the end of the day, like I was saying, I think Minnesota can stop what the Knicks do more than the Knicks have shown to be able to stop what the Timberwolves do, and that's why I would consider First of all, also a quick disclaimer: there's only 2 games tonight. We're looking at these because this is all we have to work with. We feel pretty good about some of this stuff, but you don't have to bet every single spread or every single over or total. You can just take what you feel comfortable with tonight. And the thing that I feel most comfortable with is the T-Wolves pulling this one out. And so, I'm not too worried about the 3 points there. But even a money line bet of -145 on the Timberwolves to just get rid of that spread and feel good about it, I'm fine with still getting that return on my money in a game that I don't love anything, but that's the thing that I like by far the most.
Yeah, money line at -150. So I would look at just ways of juicing that. With going under, if you get it early here, with it going over, if you get it when it closes, hopefully a few points lower, maybe you can even middle that and get a payout there. Or, it's about plus 250 for a money line either way. So you could make a slight profit as long as the Wolves win in that case. Or, something, you mentioned you don't have to bet on everything tonight, but you can definitely ride our player props. And we're going to lead with Karl Anthony Towns today in this matchup. He went for 27 and 15 in MSG, his first rematch with Tibbs after Tibbs left. Only got to play 31 minutes in that game due to foul trouble. So I like him double in a win, plus 255. That would be a fun way to get on the money line here with the Wolves. But yeah, the numbers certainly indicate under for the Knicks, who have gone under in 9 of their last 12. Who are 15 and 6 to the under after losing. They just scored 87 points yesterday, 7 and 4 with a rest advantage to the under, 14 and 9 to the under at home. You can take their under just at 106.5 points, right? And this is a team that frequently will play with both or one team going below 100 points. One of the only teams in the NBA, along with kind of Dallas, that you can kind of rely on to do that. If you're worried about the fact that the Wolves are just on fire offensively, granted, Steph Curry was out and so was Gary Payton and Draymond, but they just dropped 120 on Golden State, which is, still the number 2 defense on the road. And they get an extra day off now, and they're coming into MSG. where everyone has an agenda to perform, and a lot of the guys who played under Tibbs have a particular agenda to perform and win this game.
Yep. No, I love it. I do like the cat props. I mean, I do think I lean a little bit more under, to your point as well. Just at the end of the day, if it's a Knicks game, especially at Madison Square Garden, you feel like the unders, the numbers show that the under hits way more there. The only thing, to your point, Minnesota's offense is a little bit up, and the fact that they play a little bit faster on the road. But still, at the end of the day, I think, I love the cat one. I'm going to follow you on that one. We'll talk more about it in the player props video. But I mean, even against the Knicks, he has eaten, to your point. The only reason he ended with 27-15 and not more is because of that foul trouble. He's got 13 or more rebounds in the last 4 games that he's played against the Knicks, dating back to last season. So he obviously enjoys playing against this team, regardless of who's playing down low. No Nerlens Noel still, a lack of a interior presence on D for the Knicks still. So yeah, I would feel pretty good about Cat tonight, just as much, if not more than anything. And I do like the T-Wolves to win this one for all the reasons you said, including coming off that rest advantage, etc. So that is all the time we have for this one today. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page. You can check out that other game we have in the Dubs and Pistons, as well as that player props video that we'll look to stay red hot with you guys. And until we see you next, happy betting.